And my wife was running behind me once, and we're in this big trail, and she's like, "Why are you touching the trees?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're touching things." I'm like, "I don't know. I just want to appreciate and feel it, you know." She's like, "Okay, that's a little different." I'm like, no,
I think I can go there.
I'm not being weird, am I? I'm just really appreciating every little thing I can think of and see along the way.
They say a journey begins in a single step, or in my case, one less piece of bread. My name is Chad, and I'm your test subject. I have sought out an expert in the field of nutrition and fitness who I hoped would help me feel, well, better. They call him the biohacker, but I call him Eric. I hope you'll join me on a path that leads you and I to optimal fitness as we live our lives in ketosis. This is the Life in Ketosis podcast, a biohacker's guide to optimal body performance. Hello everyone, my name is Chad, and this is episode 29 of my quest to achieving optimal body performance with the man that can get me there, the biohacker himself, Mr. Eric Bischoff. Every episode, I'll be sharing my actual results, both successes and failures, as Eric teaches me how to apply the principles of ketogenics and functional movement to look and feel fantastic. Just as a reminder, the first 5 episodes of this podcast are foundational episodes. That's where you can get the foundational information that you need to know as we talk through some of these later episodes about ketogenics and functional movement. If you haven't listened to those, I encourage you to hit pause now, go back, listen to the first 5 episodes, and then join us back here. And today, I know I start every podcast with this. I really am stoked to have these conversations. I love learning from you, Eric, and I love the conversations that we have. And so I don't want people to think it's disingenuous when I say I am really excited to have this conversation today.
Cool.
And today is a special one for me because it's something close to my heart. And today we're talking about mindfulness and ketogenics. Mindfulness is something that I have made a significant part of my life over the last probably 2 or 3 years, and it's helped me tremendously. So I kind of pitched this idea to you. Hey, Eric, can we talk about this a little bit? I'd love to just kind of give some pointers, or at least introduce the idea of mindfulness to our listeners and how it's affected my journey and my life in keto. And you were kind enough to oblige.
Well, you know what? It's something I need. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm being honest. I think I have mindfulness, and and I've tried to. I've taken some interest in meditation. Okay, which I really think I need to incorporate in my life because I'm pretty stressed. I'm going from AM to PM with studying and research. My wife thinks, like I said before, like it's an OCD issue, and I think maybe I need to calm down. And I've got a couple of biofitters out there. In fact, I'm going to say their name, Juliet and Teresa. They're a couple of biofitters that are actually giving me some links and some help for what meditation, and Juliet's been in it a long time. She's a real high level, a TM, and Teresa's been doing it, and they sent me some links, and I need to start pursuing that a little bit. So there's a weakness I have. Well, I got a lot of weaknesses, but I'm just saying that's one. I need to get into my mind a little bit.
Well, this is the reason I'm excited about this conversation is because I have to preface this right up front is I don't have a lot of great language around this stuff. It's very new to me. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've read a lot of books by the Dalai Lama, different Eastern, philosophy books and that kind of stuff. But I still don't have some of that foundational language behind it. So it is going to be very rudimentary, very entry level, and very real. And that's one thing that I want to make sure that people, I don't want you to hit stop on this episode right now and be like, oh my gosh, another person pushing this mindful crap. And that's the other thing I wanted to make sure I preface this episode with is it's very trendy right now to talk about mindfulness, which actually I like because it's getting more people into this space where they're comfortable being more mindful, but I also don't like it because there's a lot of pushers that aren't real about it. Or there's a lot of extremists, if for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? mean? That are turning people off when they talk about that. So just know this is going to be very applicable. It's going to be very rudimentary, and I think it'll be fairly quick, but I think it'll be a great conversation.
Oh, good. I look forward to.
And now that I've built it all up, let's.
I'm gonna let you take the lead on this.
Well, as I started thinking about this conversation, the first thing that I thought of was mindful eating. And, we talk about, a lot of people talk about meditation. And when we talk about meditation and mindfulness, there's an image that comes to our mind, right? And that's sitting in full lotus or half lotus,
which
with our hands on our knees and our fingers touching. And, that is a very traditional type of meditation. And it has its place. And I do practice that type of meditation.
Yes.
I'm not real particular about the way that my legs are positioned or my hands are positioned, but I do utilize that type of meditation. There are a million other types of meditation that people utilize within mindfulness. And I'm not going to actually talk specifically that much about this type of or different types of meditation, but it's very interesting to me when I found out that there's a lot of people who practice eating meditation. And what that is it's basically being mindful through the activity of eating, right? So it's not this, let me scroll through my phone when I'm eating. It's not this, let me just let my thoughts wander all over the place and just shove this food in my mouth. And I think one thing that I've experienced as I've now been in the ketogenic lifestyle for, I don't know, it was June or July of last year, is what it's done for me is it's made my eating and the things that I choose to put into my body, I have to be a lot more mindful about.
Very good.
You know what I mean? And so I know that's just a natural consequence of any type of diet, for lack of a better term. I know we don't like to use that word in this, but
nutrition.
Nutrition. That's a better way to put it. But it made me a lot more connected to the food that I put into my body and how that's going to affect my body.
Very good.
So I think it was almost, in a way, a forced mindfulness around eating, which has been pretty interesting. And I know years and years, you've been very, very mindful about what goes into your body.
And I actually got so mindful where I actually take it all the way to my electron transport chain, which is like, what are you doing? I actually think of I'm fueling, those are my energy substrates that are being converted to ketones and normal glucose and everything. I actually, times when I'm eating and fueling, I call it fueling, is where I'm actually thinking about my mitochondria and, the cytoplasm into the Krebs cycle, into the electron transport chain. It's actually, there's a purpose for why I'm eating this food, not just for pleasure. I'm looking at it as fuel. And a lot of people I coach start looking, I don't want to take the fun out of food, but if you think of it as fuel, then you start appreciate the foods that you don't think taste as good as a maple bar or something like that. Right.
Yeah. And you said that to me right when I started this journey. You said you're going to start looking at food as fuel, not pleasure.
Right.
And that, I think that was one thing that kind of boosted me into this mindfulness. And I'm exactly with you. I don't know as much of the science as you do. I've been able to glean some of that from you and catch on to some of it, but not as much as you have. But I think when you told me that, that's what made me a lot more often I'll sit down and think about how the food, one, where it came from, right? And
appreciation for that.
Yeah, and appreciation to the animals that have given their life, appreciation to the people who have made a career to bring food to my table, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And not only that, but then once it enters into my system, what is it doing? What is it doing for my body? How's it interacting with the organs and the hormones and the, all of that kind of stuff? And it's really interesting. So like when you think of a lot of guided meditation, like if you were to download a meditation app, which Calm is one that I use that I absolutely love, and a lot of them do what's called a body scan, and this is a guided meditation where they take you through your body, So you're there, you're relaxed, and you're pushing everything everything else outside of your mind except for the things that are going on inside your body. Your physical body, right? So it's feel your forehead, feel the top of your head. Right, so you start with the very top of your head. Feel your scalp. Not physically with your hand, but like
you actually
make a connection. Yeah, make a connection with the feelings that are there, and then work it all the way down. Relax your face. Feel all those muscles within your face relax down, all the way down to the tips of your toes.
So you work all the way down.
Yeah, and it makes you very, very aware of what you're feeling. And as you do it, you'll make adjustments. You'll make things feel a little bit better. You'll sit up taller. All of these things.
What kind of time does that take? If you start head to toe, I don't know. It depends on how you.
It totally depends on how much time you have.
Oh, really?
Honestly, I mean, you could do it in 5 minutes. You could do it in 2 hours.
Wow.
Right?
And
I've never done it in 2 hours or taken 2 hours.
Do you have a high intensity method? 30 seconds. I'm done. That's how I probably approach it.
That's kind of the opposite of what we're talking about here.
That's probably how I'd approach it. Like, okay, I'm going hit on this one.
Let me see how fast I could do this. I could do this way faster than any of you.
We're going to compete on this, Chad.
So anyway, the thing that brought this to mind for me is we often are so busy that we're not taking the time to think about what we're putting into our bodies. Even if we are keto, sometimes when we get into that routine and we're just in a hurry or whatever, we're just throwing food into our body. We're not thinking about where it came from, what had to give its life, who has built their entire career around this, all of those, and how that connects us with those people.
That's a good point.
Interconnection is a huge principle of mindfulness. We are literally interconnected with the world. I mean, if you think of one thing, right? If you think of a piece of steak or a vegetable or something that you're eating and who that connects you with. Well, there's the person, there's the people that own the company that decided to create a company to grow that. There's the people who harvest it. There's the people who drove it. There's the people who made the tires on the truck that drove the food to your local store. I mean, so there's just, there's a very, very deep rabbit hole that you can go down of people that you're connected with through your food, and you would never do that unless you got real mindful about your eating.
That's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's an exercise that I take my kids through on a regular basis.
Have you done gardening at all, where you grew your own vegetables?
Yeah, I love gardening.
Really go mindfulness on you actually going to the soil, and you're actually creating this and growing it and watering it and producing it.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I wonder if there's a little different connection that you would have with doing that on your, naturally. And
on even a deeper level, I love watching my kids eat the stuff that we grew together in the yard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And them looking at, oh my gosh, we had this pack of seeds earlier this year, and now we're eating tomatoes that are awesome, and it's been really, really good.
And I know when I grow my veggies, which I like, I really appreciate them for some reason. And then it bothers me. I end up wasting so much, and I have people running from me because I hear, I've got all this squash and zucchini, and they're like, "No, we're good, Eric, we're good." I feel bad. Dispose. I mean, I feel bad, and there's a lot of people that could use it. And we're working on a project for that, in fact. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. It's just mindful eating, being more mindful as we eat. You can make it into a meditation of sorts, and really do that body scan as you're eating. Do the food scan. Think about who it connects you with. That interconnection is a really, really powerful thing as you start to consider the way that you consume. It connects you to people in a very personal way, in my opinion. That's what it's done for me. The second thing is non-judgment. So this space can tend to be a very judgmental space, the nutrition, exercise space. And when I talk about non-judgment, I'm mostly talking about ourselves. How we look at ourselves, how we judge ourselves. I mean, you say it all the time. A lot of your biofitters come in as aesthetics, right? They want that aesthetic benefit. They want to look different. And usually that desire to look different is because you have compared yourself with somebody else or with yourself either in the past or in the future.
Yep.
And I'm not here to say that I don't do this.
Right.
I'm here to say that I'm practicing not doing it.
Right.
And that's all that meditation, that's all that mindfulness is a practice.
Yes.
It's kind of become catchy, this catchphrase, I'm practicing yoga or I'm practicing mindfulness. I don't know if a lot of people have stopped to think about what that actually means. It's same as practicing medicine, right?
Yeah.
Or practicing mental health, or all of that kind of stuff. It's this idea that we're progressing, we're learning, we're doing trial and error, a lot of self-testing, like what you're doing. And so just keep in mind that just because I'm talking about these things, I'm not pretending that I own them or that I am good at them.
Right.
I'm talking about things that I'm practicing, right?
And I think that's a good point. I have to work on a lot of stuff myself. And we're kind of driven by what others are thinking of us. And we've talked about before, the opinions of others make you a prisoner. Okay?
Yeah.
And I always used to bring up that island test. If I lived on an island by myself, would I do this? Yeah. Would I practice this? Is that important to me? Would I drive this or do that? And if I had a bike, would I ride it? Would I have that love for that or whatever? If you're by yourself on an island, would you operate the same way?
Right.
And you probably would operate a lot different.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because a lot of those things wouldn't be important.
Yeah.
Because nobody's judging you and nobody's looking at you. I'm driving a golf cart and I'm totally happy.
Nor would they might not even come to mind, right? Because those are social constructs.
You wouldn't think about it.
Yeah.
You're there to take care of yourself and provide.
Feel as good as you can feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I always give myself, I call it the island test.
That's great. I mean, I take yoga from an instructor she's awesome at this. And one of the things that she says at the beginning of every single class is, this is your practice. This is nobody else's practice. Don't worry about looking side to side. Don't look at anybody else. Look inside yourself. And so
do you think people fear looking inside themselves?
Possibly.
Because then you know what your real intent is about things in life, what makes you do things. It's like that why. Yeah. I mean, nobody. I'm a why guy. Like, why did I do that, or why am I doing this? And it's kind of dragging it slows you down a little bit, because some people just do it because they're doing it, no matter what. And they don't get to the why. And my wife's like, you're always asking why. Just do it and shut up.
But I would contend that place of understanding why we're doing something and that connection with our why has a much more impactful outcome.
I agree.
Than if you just did it because you wanted to win a race.
Right.
Or something like. And I'm not saying that's a bad why either.
No.
I'm just saying that wouldn't be my why.
Right. Yeah.
That wouldn't be a why for me that would be real impactful.
Right. I think it's more lasting when you determine the real why. I think it's more lasting. And there's a purpose. We're back to that purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So is there anything that you do with your biofitters to help them know or trigger this idea that this is your journey? This isn't anybody else's journey. This is your body. This is your, what you need.
A lot of them, I should do more. I will be frank. I should do more of that. It's like so much is on their plate at one time. I'm working nutrition and some supplements, and so. And a lot of them are, once they get past the 8 weeks, 12 weeks, then I start bringing in more of the lifestyle, the purpose. I don't get into that yet because I'm going to start bringing that in and some I do. They've been in for a long time, but it's like step by step, a little at a time. Because if you give too much, it's not sustainable,
right?
And it's like some of them I have doing what I do. I do recovery appreciation runs that I think I did a keto tip on it, to where I actually will go on a Sunday morning or whatever day and do a long run, but I actually no music, no heart rate. I actually appreciate everything I see and come across and touch. And my wife was running behind me once, and we're in this big trail, and she's like, why are you touching the trees? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you're touching things. I'm like, I don't know, I just want to appreciate and feel feel it, she's like, okay, that's a little different. I'm like,
I think I can go there.
I'm not being weird, am I? I'm just really appreciating every little thing I can think of and see along the way. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's part of being mindfulness of.
For sure.
Normally it's about looking at my heart rate, listen to my breathing, my music. I'm then you just gotta have those I call them appreciation workouts where you just enjoy it and appreciate everything you can think of.
Yeah, and you did a keto tip on one of those on our social media accounts a few weeks ago.
That's right.
It was really good. People really appreciated it. Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing I know from my experience in approaching you to be coached is one of the very first questions you asked me is, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. I need to know why and I think you were gauging a little bit a level of commitment, but also a level of what's the payoff going to be for you. And if it's an event, if it's, I want to look better to people or whatever, then it's not going to be sustained. It's not going to be a good journey for you. Yes. And I very much got that feeling from you from the day we started. And
a lot of people that, sometimes I have to bring an event in because they're losing motivation until I can get them ketosis to where they're starting to really feel the cognitive and the energy and that feeling of being in ketosis. So I'm always reaching some way to keep them going, motivating them, and, then that aesthetic becomes therapeutic. For the health conscious. I have some that are competing, and that's easy because they're being driven by another factor basically. But some of them are being driven therapeutic. They need that body count. They're diabetic. It's a situation they have no choice. Okay.
Yeah.
But some people have just aesthetics. Then I'll start working in the other benefits.
Yeah, that's great.
Like you, because you look pretty good when you came on board.
Yeah. I think, and the other thing is I see a lot of people talking on their social medias and that kind of stuff that when they're having the hardest time. I think that's when they've lost connection with their why. You know what I mean? When they're complaining like, I'm so sick of this food, or the food's so hard to prep, or I don't feel like it today, or something like that. That's when it's a tall tale sign that they've lost the connection with their why.
Or that instant gratification.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything. I don't feel anything. I'm like, let's work through this.
And my third one, so does that make sense on non-judgment? Do you think that's helpful?
Very helpful.
Okay,
very
cool.
Helpful.
So my third one, and I think this ties really closely back to the first one, I talked about mindful eating or meditative eating. This one is mindful meditation. And I just wanted to give people a few pointers on if they want to give meditation a go. I am definitely not the authority. Really nobody's the authority, but other people have practiced more than I have. So I would encourage you to, if you're interested in it, find some tools. We'll link in some tools in the notes, the show notes here, so that people can easily find some tools like the Calm app is really, really good. There's another podcast that I listen to called Secular Buddhism, which is a really cool, it's not tied to necessarily Eastern religion or philosophy, but it's much more the principles around mindfulness and meditation and that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. Noah Rasheda is the host of that podcast. He's an awesome guy, and I've learned a ton from him. So the one thing that I want to make sure people understand is that meditation doesn't have to look any certain way. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to have any specific seating position. Some help you focus more, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to include alms. Some people feel really dumb doing alms. It doesn't have to include anything like that. It doesn't have to include singing bowls or sound baths or anything like that. It doesn't have to. Those are all things that can be helpful in the meditative process, but it doesn't. I mean, some people do walking meditation. Lots of people do meditation on the subway. And while they're in their commute to work or whatever, and they don't want to look like they're doing something goofy. I don't know, whatever it is. So that's the biggest thing is I don't want anybody to think it has to look a certain way.
Did you ever practice those ways? Or?
Absolutely. In the appropriate times for sure. My my time for meditation is in the morning. So I'm usually up by about 5:30. I have to get my blood going a little bit, so I'll do some push-ups, I'll do some sit-ups, something light.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'll have the brain power to go into doing some meditation. And the ultimate goal for meditation, a lot of people talk about meditation as clearing your mind.
Right.
And yes, that is the goal, but this is an arguable point, but I'm saying you're never going to completely clear your mind. Thoughts are going to pop in.
Right.
That's how it happens. I mean, that's how our brain works. And, we've been trained, taught, educated to have a million things going on in our minds at once. So really what we're doing is we're training our brain to just push all of that out. And just be with ourselves in the moment. That's the essence of meditation.
So you want to get the chatter out.
Yes.
So are you focusing on something, obviously, right?
So it helps to focus on some things, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different methods that you can practice. The one that works the best for me is breath-focused meditation. Okay. So I'm focusing on my breath. I'm in and out through the nose. Deep, nice in and out through the nose, and I'm visually, if it's not a guided meditation or a body scan or something like that, I'm just visualizing the air coming in, and it's good. It's all the goodness. It's the things I appreciate. It's all that sort of stuff, and then breathing out. And those are the things that don't need to be there. Not necessarily the bad, but the thoughts that are clouding my mind. Right. Just breathe that stuff out on your exhale, and breathe in clarity and all of that stuff on your inhale, right? And so this can be any amount of time. It doesn't have to be a set amount of time. I set a timer. I'm usually about 10 to 15 minutes daily. Okay. Now, here's the most important part that I would say from my experience is this is where number 2 comes in, non-judgment. If you sit down to meditate and thoughts are popping up and you start judging yourself for those thoughts, right? Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to be meditating. Why won't my mind clear? Whatever. That's not going to get you very far in mindfulness or in your meditation practice. What it's about is accepting the thought. Oh, that's interesting, right? Don't judge it. Let it be there for a second and then push it back and just say, okay, well, I'm good. I'm good with that thought now. I looked at it. It's not valuable right now. Let me push that out. I'll take care of it later. And not getting, you can't do meditation wrong. Right. And if you feel like you're doing it wrong, that's when you can recognize that maybe you have some judgment towards yourself or towards the way meditation is supposed to go.
Now does it, like the morning versus evening? Morning is usually you're getting, your cortisol's raising up because you're getting geared for the day. Your thought patterns are usually what you got to do that day, what you got to accomplish, the kids, the wife, whatever. Okay. So by nature, do we have more chatter in the morning or more chatter at the night after your day's done, and what happened during the day, what you didn't do? Or
I experience, and I can only talk about what I experience. I experience a lot more in the morning.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay.
So I do my meditation in the morning, but then I do my yoga practice at night, usually a couple times a week. Okay. And at the end of every yoga practice, we have basically a meditative session, usually about 5 to 10 minutes long, where you've just put your body through some pretty extreme strengthening exercises. You've focused on every part of the body, and then you go into this relaxed state of meditation. It's incredible. It's some of the best feeling I have ever felt. Ever. But I notice in those moments, it is a lot better for me to just be empty. And just nothing running through my mind. I've taken care of the things for the day that I needed to. If I didn't get to them, I've put them on tomorrow's plate, that sort of stuff. So that's a great question. That might help a lot of people. Okay. I also love that you brought it to the science of keto, because that's what we're here to talk about. And here's where I feel like my meditative practice has been enhanced with keto is when my body is burning ketones, I experience mental clarity. Right? We've talked a lot about that. Yeah. And I think from my personal experience that feeding my brain ketones coupled with mindful meditation, it's like taking that mental clarity at moments and just putting it on steroids.
Yeah.
And it's been really good. And I mentioned, a couple weeks ago that I went out of keto. A couple shows ago, I went out of keto just to kind of experience some life outside of ketogenics again, so I could reappreciate keto and all that kind of stuff and the way I feel. And I realized that it actually affected my meditation practice as well, quite a bit.
Wow.
I just felt like, my body was fueled in a way that allowed me that space to be mentally clear.
Really?
And focus on one thing.
It would be awesome. Just give me a really good idea, because I self-experiment everything. I'm going to do that 10-day fast next month, okay? But I don't meditate. I have to learn, and it wouldn't be enough time. But maybe it would be awesome to see you. I'm just saying, like a 5-day fast, because water only, because that would get you into the higher ketones, okay?
Yeah.
So your brain would be really getting a lot of beta hydroxybutyrate molecule, and see, because I know on my fifth, fifth day, my cognitive was so enhanced because of my beta was higher. It was, even those around me were like I've said before, Eric, I can't believe you're in the zone like no other. And I was like, and my wife said she liked me fasting better than a normal person, because I was really nice and really attentive and just spot on. It'd be neat to have somebody that meditates to see what level you feel in a fasting state with the ketones.
Yeah, that would be an interesting
That would
experiment.
be you, though.
Yeah.
Not me.
Well, you're using whatever excuse you can get to get me into this 5-day fast.
I mean, I think those out there would love to hear. I mean, would be really interested in that experiment, and it's something I can't do. I can talk about the cognitive part, but not meditation, where it's taking you to a higher level, that you become in your meditation.
Yeah. That would be really interesting.
Let's do it.
I'll think about it.
All right, think about it. Fasting's great. I've got a lot of fasters and biofitters. I have one, he's on his 4th day today, Robert. He's going 5 days, and he's done one before. But he may go 6 or 7. I don't know. I have to talk to him about it. But he loves it. He really feels... We're not talking about fasting, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But with you, we might do it.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting experiment, I think. That would be great. Well, anything that you feel like I should clarify, or any questions or anything that you...
No, I think you helped me. I mean,
Good.
It's a great podcast. I really need to get in that path a little bit more and take the time to learn meditation, and I do have my quiet times and my thoughts and those kind of things, but I would like to take it to a higher level, let's say, cool. Especially with the ketones. I think I'd like to experience that.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible combination. So anyway, so like I said, there's so much out there. There's so many great tools out there. We'll link some of those tools. I'll just repeat, I'm not positioning myself as a guru or any. I'm just somebody who practices and has found a lot of benefits from it.
Maybe we should bring somebody on.
Yeah, that would be great.
And you asked the great questions, because I'm a newbie, and it'd be awesome to have somebody that really is experienced meditation. Yeah. And what practice and what they do, and there's different, a lot of that different stuff that I'm not sure of.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for biohacking with us today, Eric.
No, thank you. Not me.
Thanks for mind hacking with us today, Chad.
I just asked questions today. I kind of like this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. I also want to thank you for joining us on this quest for optimal fitness. If you're ready to begin your own journey and live your life in ketosis, be sure to check out biofitcoaching.com or Biofit Coaching on Facebook. A lot of great keto tips, discussions, all of that kind of stuff on there. Go ahead and jump on there if you have a question or just want to get involved in the discussion. Also, if this podcast has helped you in any way or entertained you, please, we encourage you to go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a review talking about why you like the podcast. That helps us spread the word. And finally, the greatest compliment that you can give us is sharing this podcast with your friends and family, those you love that need these principles, and that these principles can help. And until next time, stay keto.